There is a quiet kind of death that happens when you are always reachable. A soul decay, not with the violence of storms, but the erosion of self by 1,000 soft requests. Are you free? Can you talk? Just one more favor. And because you mistake love for sacrifice, because you were taught that goodness is in your availability, you become a ghost who responds faster than they breathe. A sacrificial lamb with a smiling face, held hostage by the fear of not being enough if you're not always there. But listen closely. The world does not remember those who were always available. It remembers the ones who vanished, who were too rare to be ignored, too distant to be taken for granted. The sun is never begged to rise, its absence creates longing, and longing creates value. Your constant presence is killing your essence. The pain you avoid, the guilt of saying no, the fear of disappointing, the silence after pulling back, is the very crucible of selfhood. Until you embrace it, you are not living. You are leaking. And no one drinks from a broken vessel for long. You don't lose yourself all at once. You bleed slowly. One yes too many. One boundary ignored. One night staying up to soothe someone else's storm while your own goes unseen. Energy is currency, and yours is not infinite. Yet you spend it like it costs nothing. On people who forget your name the moment they find comfort. On moments that drain but never fill. On tasks that serve everyone but your soul. You call it kindness. But kindness without discernment is self-destruction dressed in virtue. There is a hunger in this world. A quiet, desperate addiction to attention. They will drain you, not because they are cruel, but because they are starving. And you, always open, always ready, always there, look like sustenance. But you are not meant to be consumed. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But that becoming requires the courage to stop performing, to step out of the spotlight of constant giving, and walk into the dark theater of your own soul. There, in the silence, you'll meet the cost of your availability, and realize it was never free. What is always present is seldom seen. What is always reachable is rarely revered. It is the law of human perception. We chase what runs, desire what resists, value what vanishes. You don't desire the air you breathe until it's gone. And you, in your desperate openness, have become oxygen to people who don't know how to breathe on their own. You give too much, too easily, too soon. And in doing so, you have robbed yourself of gravity, of mystery, of worth. Even love becomes cheap when it's on tap. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." And those who crave your constant attention are not poor because you give too little, but because you gave too much, too fast, without asking if they could hold it. Scarcity isn't cruelty, it is sacredness. Your time, your energy, your presence. These are not default settings. They are sacred offerings. And sacred things are not tossed into the streets. They are hidden in temples, behind silence, wrapped in ritual. If you want to be respected, stop being accessible. Let them wonder where you went. We are drowning in connections, yet starving for meaning. 1,000 notifications, but not one soul who sees beneath your silence. 100 followers watching your story, but no one asking about your sadness. This is the age of mirrors without reflections, of talking without listening, of being known only by your digital shadow. You respond quickly. You share often. You stay online just enough to not disappear. But you're already fading. You call it connection, but it's surveillance. You call it love, but it's performance. We live in a hall of echoes, where validation is mistaken for intimacy, and overexposure is called vulnerability. But real connection is not measured by presence. It is felt in absence. The ones who truly matter feel you even when you're gone. They don't need updates to remember you. They don't need noise to stay close. Gurdjieff taught that man is asleep, that our lives are mechanical repetitions of what society wants us to be. To wake up is to pull away, to risk becoming invisible to others, so you can finally become visible to yourself. Turn off the noise. Disappear from their screens. And listen to the ache beneath your stillness. That is where your real self waits. There is a moment, usually around the 4th or 5th hour of silence, where the masks begin to slip. The noise dies, and you begin to hear yourself. Not the self you perform for them, not the self addicted to response, but the quiet presence underneath. The one that doesn't need applause. The one that simply is. In solitude, you don't get to be charming. You don't get to be helpful. You don't get to distract yourself with the dopamine of being needed. You only get to be real. And that is terrifying. Because when you are no longer someone's escape, when you are no longer feeding your worth through service, you come face to face with your naked soul. And sometimes, you realize, you never truly knew them. But more tragically, you never truly knew you. Nietzsche said, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster." But what if the monster is your own reflection? What if the life you fear, the one where no one calls, no one asks, no one needs, is the life where you are finally free? Let them forget you for a while. You are remembering yourself. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks. And not everyone deserves a key. But when you've lived your life as an open field, trampled, grazed upon, harvested by anyone with a sob story or a sweet word, you begin to forget that you were once a forest. Wild, untouched, sacred. There is power in being unreadable. In being a question, not an answer. In being felt, not explained. Mystique is not manipulation. It is medicine. To reclaim your space, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, is not cruelty. It is clarity. In a world obsessed with access, denial becomes divinity. Carl Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we wear for society. But beneath that mask lives the shadow. The parts of you you've denied just to be liked. The anger you swallowed. The desires you buried. The no you never spoke. Detachment is the scalpel that cuts away the rot. It hurts. But the pain you avoid is the life you never get to live. Because your soul cannot grow in the soil of constant compromise. It needs solitude, silence, selective presence. Be where your spirit expands, not where your energy evaporates. There is a graveyard inside you, filled with versions of yourself you killed. To be loved, to be accepted, to be safe. The wild child who spoke too loudly. The fierce soul who said no without apology. The intuitive self who knew what felt wrong, but obeyed anyway. You buried them beneath smiles, beneath over-apologies, beneath the performance of being good. But they are not dead. They are exiled. And they wait for you, in your loneliness, in your triggers, in the quiet fury that simmers beneath your people-pleasing. This is the work Carl Jung called shadow work. The painful, sacred act of retrieving your lost parts. Not to shame them, but to integrate them, to become whole again. Because the parts of you you were told to hide are often the very parts that carry your fire, your wildness, your boundaries, your voice. And until you reclaim them, you will keep betraying yourself just to feel belonging. You will keep giving away your life to people who wouldn't bleed for yours. The life you want requires becoming someone you've never dared to be. And that person already lives in your shadow. You don't need to become someone else. You need to remember who you were, before the world told you who to be. There is something holy about disappearance. Not the kind that seeks revenge. Not the silence that manipulates. But the sacred vanishing that says, I owe myself my own presence. Withdrawal is not weakness. It is the warrior's return to the cave. To mend the sword. To remember the dream. To sit with God in the silence you've always avoided. You do not need to announce your retreat. You simply go. And in your going, you make space for the divine to speak. Gurdjieff said that most people live as machines. Reacting, repeating, running. But the awakened one stops. And in stopping, they begin to see. Withdrawal is how you break the spell. The hypnosis of over-identifying with noise, validation, and constant stimulation. It's the detox from identity. the fast from approval. And though it will feel like death, to not be needed, to not be seen, to not be missed, it is actually your resurrection. Because only in absence can your soul unfold its wings. Only in solitude can your spirit begin to speak in its true voice, the one unfiltered by expectation. Go into the wilderness and listen. You are not lost. You are returning. Not all power is loud. Some of it whispers. Some of it walks away. And in a world addicted to noise, silence becomes a language of the divine. Distance becomes a boundary that teaches others how to treat you. And presence, true, grounded, sovereign presence, becomes unforgettable. You've tried to earn love through volume, through over-explaining, through being everywhere, always. But the ones who are remembered are not those who shouted. They are the ones who were still. Still, even when misunderstood. Distant, even when chased. Present, not for attention, but for truth. Respect does not rise from overexposure. It rises from restraint. From knowing your worth so deeply that you no longer need to perform it. Seneca wrote, "If you wish to be loved, love yourself." But he also knew, if you wish to be respected, hold yourself like something sacred. Let others miss you. Let them feel your absence and measure your worth by it. Let them realize too late what you gave freely too soon. This is not ego. It is ecology. Even the earth retreats into winter, so that life can return stronger in spring. You are not available. You are becoming. You were not born to be liked. You were born to awaken. And sometimes awakening means burning the bridge between who you were and who your soul is asking you to become. There is no applause in this. No parade for the one who chooses silence over attention. No medals for the one who walks away from the life that pleases others, but starves the self. But there is peace. The kind that trembles at first. Lonely, raw, uncertain. But later settles deep into your bones like a quiet homecoming. Let them call you selfish. Let them say you've changed. Let them wonder where you went. Because the truth is, you were always too big for the room they kept you in. You are not vanishing. You are shedding. Not disappearing. But becoming invisible to the eyes not meant to see you. Nietzsche said, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." And you, in your solitude, your withdrawal, your sacred no, are birthing stars now. Let the pain shape you. Let the absence teach them. Let the world forget your name. If that's what it takes to remember your soul. The pain you avoid is the life that's waiting for you on the other side of your disappearance. Choose yourself. Even if the world no longer recognizes you. You are not what they needed you to be. You are what your soul remembers when no one is watching. So let them forget you. Let them misunderstand you. Disappear. And return not as someone they expect, but as someone they can never own again. Because the pain you avoid is the life you were meant to live. This was Psyphos. Stay hidden, stay sovereign, and above all, stay true. Until next time.